If you're an artist and you've been saving videos about how to sell your art, you've been watching tutorials on Etsy, you've been researching what platforms to use, how to set your price, how to take good photos, and you've been doing this for weeks, maybe months, and you still haven't actually posted anything for sale, I need to tell you what's actually going on, because it's not what you think. So here's what I see all the time: artists who know more about Etsy SEO than people who are actually selling on Etsy. They've watched all the videos, they've taken notes, some of them have entire folders organized with all their research. They could probably teach a class on how to optimize a listing, yet they still haven't made a single one. And the thing is, I get it, because I was the same way. When I graduated with my art degree, I spent months just consuming, watching videos, reading guides, and just convincing myself that I needed to learn one more thing before I was ready to start. And do you know what that was? That was actually fear disguised as preparation. Because here's what your brain is doing right now. It's telling you that more information equals more readiness. And if you just watch one more video, read one more guide, and understand one more concept, then you'll finally be prepared to start. And it feels productive, right? It feels like you're doing something. But if you look at it objectively, you're not actually moving forward. You're just running in place. And I think the reason this happens to artists specifically is because you guys actually care. You're not lazy, and this quote I read from a book really captures this. You know, the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. And if you're actually indifferent, then you wouldn't be watching videos like this. You wouldn't be thinking about this constantly. And the fact that you're overthinking this means you want it to work, and you're smart enough to see all the ways that it could go wrong. So you end up collecting all this information and over-preparing yourself instead of starting. But that's exactly what's keeping you stuck. Because at some point, research becomes procrastination wearing a productivity costume. And I think that deep down you already know that. So let me put something in perspective that completely changed how I thought about this. So just imagine 20 years ago, if you wanted to start a business selling your art, you would need a lot of money. You would have to buy inventory up front, you need a physical location, and you have to pay someone thousands of dollars just to build you a website. And you're taking an actual financial risk. Today, you can test whether or not anyone in the world wants to buy your art for 20 cents. That's what an Etsy listing costs, 20 cents. So the barrier to entry has never been lower in human history. And yet, I still see artists stuck in research mode for months. So if it's not the money and it's not the information, what is it actually? And I think it's this: you're afraid of finding out that it doesn't work. You'd rather stay in the comfortable fantasy of, I could just start whenever I want, than face the possibility that you start and no one buys. Because as long as you're still researching, you haven't failed yet and you're just preparing. But you also have to understand what that's costing you, because every month that you spend watching videos instead of posting listings is a month of real data that you're not collecting. You're not learning what works for your specific art, your specific style, and your niche. And that stuff you cannot learn from YouTube. You can only learn it by testing and iterating and seeing what happens. And just think about it, right? The artist who posts 50 bad listings and watches which ones get favorites, which ones gets clicks, and which ones actually sell is actually going to figure it out way faster than the artist who spends a year trying to make one perfect listing. Because here's what nobody tells you: your first listing is supposed to be bad. Mine was terrible. Most of my early listings got 0 sales. I tested for over 4 months before I got my first sale, and I just looked at the data and I kept iterating. And that's just how testing something works. So here's what I want you to do: not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Just go on Etsy if you have an account and create one listing. I don't care if your photos aren't professional, I don't care if your title isn't optimized, and I don't care if you're not sure about the price. Just put something into the world and see what happens.